This series is slowly becoming, instead of Confessions of Shopaholic, Confessions of a Bookaholic. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Anshula and you are watching a Phoenix bookstore vlog. I'm so excited to be filming this today because we've been to so many amazing bookstores in the area. We visited two in Scottsdale yesterday. One of them was called The Poison Pen and the other was called Anticus. Right now we're going to be visiting a couple bookstores in Phoenix. And the first one I'm going to be stopping by is called Changing Hands. Let's go check it out.
I see it in your eyes. Yeah, I can read the signs. You need to get away. It's time we make a change. Oh, you know you'll always have me. Baby, I will always stay with you. So put your trust in me. We'll work it out, you'll see. If we get in a car and drive someplace far, yeah, we could go for a ride. The two of us, we don't have to stop. Baby, let's go for a ride. You and I, let us run away.
This is the name of my series. I didn't know the name was already taken.
We can go where we want. I'll have your bag if you'll have mine. You and I wanna leave everything behind. If you wanted to, promise you we will be alright. If it's you and I.
So in Phoenix, I visited probably the coolest bookstore I've ever been to. And I say this for every single bookstore that I go to, so take it with a grain of salt. This bookstore was a used meets new bookstore. This bookstore is also part bookstore bar, so there was a bar area, and it was next to a restaurant called Southern Rail that I ate at later, which is more of an upscale brunch spot. The bookstore itself was absolutely amazing. It had long lines of shelves of books, and you walk through it, and it felt more like a maze, and I love that. There were little bookish alleys, and I really enjoyed the experience. Changing Hands turned out to be one of my favorite bookstores because of the collection alone. I love that this one carried both used and new books because it felt that it was celebrating all books, old and new. It was a very uplifting atmosphere. They were playing a bunch of contemporary music, so it just felt like an uplifting environment, and I really enjoyed it. This shop really feels like your typical local independent bookstore, from the way the staff interact with you down to the choices of the books that it has. A lot of the books are bestsellers, contemporary books, new releases. They do have a whole section dedicated to classics, but that's not the main focus of the bookstore. It is mostly a lot of new releases, so this is a place where you can pick it up. It felt to me like if Half Price Books and Barnes & Noble had a little Born in Arizona baby, it would be Changing Hands bookstore. That's what it felt like to me, which is a really odd description, but I'm gonna roll with it. Something that was really surprising was how great this bookstore was. I actually enjoyed it because it made me focus on the books even more. When I was in Scottsdale, I was so taken back by all the colors in the bookstore. I was looking everywhere but the books at first, and then eventually I gravitated towards the books, but in this case, I'm just looking at the books, I'm trying to choose my picks, I'm getting excited about my next reads. Honestly, really loved it. Let's be honest, I love every bookstore I've been to. I found two amazing books at this bookstore. I found a series of used books with a used marker squished between a bunch of new books that were on a completely unrelated topic. I felt like I had found a hidden gem. And the book that I found was Eat, Pray, Love by Elizabeth Gilbert, which doesn't sound like a surprising find. But wait till I show you guys the cover. So the one I found was the Bloomsburg Modern Classics edition of Eat, Pray, Love. It has this gorgeous watercolor detail on the front with this green, pastel green color scheme, and I immediately fell in love with the cover of this book. This is a book I absolutely love. I've read it multiple times, and I'll talk about the synopsis a little bit later. But when I went to purchase this book, at the register, the cashier actually told me, it's showing up Eat, Pray, Love for some reason. And she was really confused because she saw two books and neither of them looked like Eat, Pray, Love. And I was like, no, this one's Eat, Pray, Love. And she was like, wait, that's Eat, Pray, Love? I've never seen that cover before. And I was like, neither have I. So yeah, we bonded over the cover of Eat, Pray, Love, because the original cover, not my favorite, guys. Not my favorite. But this one, I absolutely love. And I'm not really a big fan of most of the Bloomsbury Modern Classics covers, but this was a tough find, and I'm so glad I found it in the used bookstore. I'm so glad I know it exists because it's absolutely gorgeous. Eat, Pray, Love follows Liz Gilbert on her 3-country solo travel adventure. She goes to Italy, India, and Bali. Elizabeth Gilbert embarks on this journey after a heart-wrenching divorce. She feels this void, emptiness, loneliness, and she's tugged with a million negative emotions that she doesn't quite know how to handle. And she feels the best way to learn more about herself, maybe why she's experiencing these emotions, how to cope with these emotions, would be to go on the trip of a lifetime that she's never really gifted herself. This book is self-care in its ultimate form. Liz goes to Italy to learn about pleasure, and the descriptions of Italy are absolutely gorgeous and a little bit funny and witty to boot. I love this novel because Elizabeth Gilbert is a master of integrating travel descriptions into a book with extremely heavy topics and balancing the heavy topics and rich travel descriptions that make you feel like you're going on the adventure with her, but you're also feeling and experiencing those feelings that she experienced at the time. It's a brilliantly written memoir, and it was a New York Times bestseller, I think, for a very long time. It was such a hit. I believe there's also a movie on it with Julia Roberts. In fact, this is the kind of book that has so many quotes that you will just want to rip out the pages and frame some of the travel quotes. In fact, this book inspired me to collect all my favorite quotes from it, and I'll link them all in the description box below if you want to check it out and see if you want to read this book, because it's an absolutely fantastic travel novel. Considering how surprisingly deep this book is, it's just an amazing memoir, travel memoir, and it's one of my all-time favorites, and I can't talk about it enough. So that was the first book that I got from Changing Hands. What was the other book? Oh, it's right here. So the next book that I got, this is actually my first time seeing this in a bookstore. I actually, when I looked back at previous bookstore vlog footage, I found that these little mini books appeared in a lot of them, but apparently I never noticed them until I got to Changing Hands. This one is I Am Not Your Perfect Mexican Daughter. It is an airplane version of the book, and when I saw this, I was so insanely happy because 99% of the time, if you ever see me in the airport, I will be the girl that has one backpack over her, no suitcase, I do carry on only, and a whole bunch of books, like bags from 20 different bookstores. If you see someone like that, there's a 99.9% chance it's me. Yeah. I have a book problem. This book follows Julia, who is not your perfect Mexican daughter. This book characterizes what a typical Mexican daughter might look like and about how our main character breaks those stereotypes. Our main character has a sister named Olga, and she is on this journey of finding out more about Olga's past and dealing with grief at the same time. Now, I definitely felt that the main character in this book was a little bit too nosy when it came to Olga's past. I get that she was trying to grapple with an emotion of grief and she wasn't sure how to handle it, so she handled it by going a little bit too deep into Olga's life, bringing out things that maybe shouldn't have come out. And sometimes while I was reading this book, I was looking back on it and thinking, oh, I hope the poor girl just rests in peace, because after Olga dies, it unlocks all of these secrets that Julia is trying to find out. And so this book is a very grief-driven book and deals with Julia finding out more about herself. There's also a few scenes in which she goes back to Mexico. We see life there play out, and it shows the life of a Mexican American versus just a perfect Mexican daughter, how being in America has sculpted how she acts and behaves. I think it was an incredibly well-written book. I definitely felt myself turning page after page after page because I wanted to find out more. The pacing was really well done. I didn't feel like the details were pushed all of a sudden. They were just dripped throughout the story, and I was very invested in what happened to Olga, even though I felt bad for wanting to know. But I wanted to know what our main character discovered about her sister. In a way, I kind of compare how nosy the main character of this book is with Stevie Bell from Truly Devious, but I felt that Stevie Bell was very fixated in a way that was slightly more relatable and more well done, and I feel like in this, her fixation comes off as a little bit grating. That was my only gripe with this book. But overall, I really enjoyed it, and I think I ended up giving it 4 stars on not Goodreads because I never update Goodreads, but 4 stars in my head. So yeah, I was really, really surprised by how large the font was, and I thought that it wouldn't fit the whole book in here and I'd have to buy like a part 2 or a part 3, but it turns out this is the whole book. Those were the 2 books that I picked up from changing hands. That was Eat, Pray, Love and I'm Not Your Perfect Mexican Daughter. And next week, we are gonna intercede with the reading vlog before we head out to Philadelphia virtually. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye guys!
Off the edge. Only good times ahead. So let me put a smile upon your face.